Terastal Festival has been out for a little bit in Japan, and while the set is mainly composed of reprints, it does have a couple of new cards, and I have talked about one of them on the channel, that being Regigigas, which, as I predicted, is already seeing play in Lugia, as its attack can knock out pretty much any Terra Pokemon in the game for relatively low energy cost, and it's also just a little bit easier to get out than the deck's other main attacker, which was Mincino. However, there is one other new card coming out in this set that players are very, very worried about. So, the Pokemon TCG is no stranger to item locks. Item lock Pokemon have been around in pretty much every format. People will remember the days of Seismitoad EX with Quaking Punch. Recently we've had Banette EX with its Everlasting Darkness, and even other cards that have been played in the past, such as Trevenant with its Forest Curse ability, Vikavolt V with its Paralyzing Bolt, Omastar with its Fossil Bind. You get the idea. Item locks are pretty much prevalent in every single format. But in our current format, cards like Banette EX are seeing play and did see a decent amount of play back, especially during the EU IC and stuff like Gardevoir and Giratina. But it's kind of fallen off at the moment. It is still a good card if you're able to get it established, but as of right now, it's not really doing that much. However, this new card from Terastal Festival has already shapen up the format a lot in Japan. It has completely changed what the best decks are. And that card is Budew. Yes, this little Budew, who, fun fact, hasn't had a card printed in the game since, I believe, the Diamond and Pearl era. So, welcome back. And he's back to wreak havoc. So this innocent little 30 HP baby Pokemon with 0 retreat and an attack that costs no energy does 10 damage, but it has an additional effect, as do all the baby Pokemon we've seen with Cleffa. It lets you draw until you have 7 cards. There was also, I think it was Smoochum, that lets you attach 2 Psychic from the deck. But this Budew says, during your opponent's next turn, they can't play any item cards from their hand. Yes, you heard that right. This free retreat, 0 energy attack Pokemon item locks your opponent. And because of that, this card is seen play in a lot of decks. It's seen play in Dragapult, it's seen play in Gardevoir, it's seen play in Palkia, it's seen play in Ceruledge. Some Lugia lists have been playing it. It's seen playing Cloth. Surprisingly not seen play in Charizard. It's seen playing Raging Bolt. It's seen playing Regidrago. It's seen playing Goldengo. It's seen playing Iron Fawns. It's seen playing Roaring Moon. It's seeing play in Chen Pao. You get the idea. This card is seeing play in almost every deck in the format. At least in Japan it is. And currently in Japan, because of this card, their meta has completely warped. Previously, stuff like Regidrago, Lugia, Raging Bolt, even Charizard were the best decks. They've now gone all the way down to like B tier decks. The best deck in the format is now Dragapult and Gardevoir. And because of this one card, those decks have actually been changing up their lists quite a bit to accommodate for the fact that, you know, you're item locking your opponent and you kind of want to keep that item lock going. Because unlike other evolution decks, you know, like Charizard and stuff like that, these decks actually play the mid-stage evolutions because they're good. Dracula can look at the top 2 cards, add one to your hand and then put the other on the bottom. Refinement Curlier can discard a card to draw 2 cards. So not only are you item locking your opponent and then gaining a huge amount of advantage by evolving into your mid stages, you can then on the next turn, after they've been item locked again, evolve into your higher evolution and start attacking. Items are pretty much the most important cards in the game. Unlike stuff like supporters, which can only be used once a turn, item cards can be used as much as you want, as long as you have an item card and, you know, you can use it. And considering that every deck in the format is playing, you know, essential cards like Ultra Ball to get Pokemon, Nest Ball to get Pokemon, Earthen Vessel to get energy, you got stuff like Super Rod and Night Stretcher to get stuff out of discard. You've also got stuff like Buddy Poffin if you want to get smaller Pokemon into play. Some decks have specific item cards that they want to play. For example, Miraidon wants to play Electric Generator to fuel up its Pokemon with energy. Ceruledge wants to play its Perfect Mixer to get its discard flooded up with energy. Lugia wants to play stuff like Capture and Aroma, Ultra Ball to get their Archeops into the discard. You get the idea. You're pretty much locking your opponent out of basically playing the game while you get to do anything you want. And because these two decks play mid-stage evolutions, for stuff like Dragapult, you can play Lance and Irizu. Lance lets you search your deck for any free Dragon-type Pokemon, so you can just get free Dracloaks or 2 Dracloaks and a Dragapult, and Irizu lets you search your deck for any free evolution Pokemon that don't have a rule box. So you can't search Dragapult, but you can search Dracloaks, and you can also search Dusknoir. Gardevoir kind of doesn't need to play those because it has Curlier, which can just, discard and draw 2, so you're gaining a little bit extra advantage than something like Dragapult, which only gets to keep one of the cards that it sees. Plus, Gardevoir prefers to play TM Evolution because it doesn't have a dedicated way of searching out, Psychic Pokemon, whereas Dragapult does with Lance. So I kind of don't need to answer the question, is this card going to see play, because it is going to see play. This card is incredibly strong and is most likely going to completely change up the format once it releases next month. I believe the set for us releases the day of Birmingham, so it won't be legal for Birmingham, but it will be legal for the EUIC. And I'm already doing testing with this card, and it's ridiculous. Especially in Dragapult, which is the main deck that I play, this card is incredible. Because you can item lock your opponent, and then you can get ahead on the game, and then you can just item lock them again, and now you're going to be way ahead of them in terms of card advantage. Most deck lists are playing at least 1, but some deck lists have been opting to play 2, just in case you end up prizing it, because the card is just that good. But yeah, I don't think I really need to say anything else about this card. It's incredibly powerful for an incredibly simple reason, and that is it item locks your opponent. Also, not to mention, it's also good in Dragapult because the attack does 10 damage. So, you could attack, do a little bit of chip damage, attack, do a little chip damage. They managed to get rid of Budew. You can now bring in Alakazam, move that 20 damage, start taking knockouts. Or at least multiple knockouts if you're up against some, evolution decks like Charizard, or you're up against the Mirror Match. Because, most stage 1 Pokemon, at least, the lower evolutions are like 70 HP now because of Dragapult. I have nothing else to say about this card. A 0 energy attack, free retreat, item lock. That's just ridiculous. And this card is going to see play in almost every deck because it's just that strong. I don't have anything else to say about this. Thank you all for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments about Budew. Are you going to be playing this? Do you think this card is going to end up being a problem for the game? Do you think it's going to be as controversial as something like Dusknoir was? Do you think that this card will at some point fall off? Or do you think it's going to remain a staple in decks up until its inevitable rotation, which won't be until like 2027, I think, because it's part of the H block, even though it's releasing at the beginning of 2025. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, all of that nonsense. And I will see you next year, actually, in whatever video that may be. Take care.